Now, as far as on the energy topic, I live in Woodland, and I'm actually a customer of Valley Clean Energy. And I can tell you my power bills have not gone down. And I'm curious, when should California see some financial benefit to this transformation to renewables?
Well, I think we have. That wind, the water, and solar has kept prices down. This is the cheapest form of energy right out here, this technology. It's had a significant impact on what you don't see. Our nation-leading climate policies have also had a significant impact of rebating customers, including $146 just this month that will be going out on average to customers, millions and millions of customers through our cap and trade program to offset their utility costs. Our nation-leading energy efficiency program allows me to lay claim to this fact. It's been PolitiFact. You can check it as well. So the fact that California has lower residential utility bills than states like Texas, states like Florida, and others that tout or mislead you with information that, with respect, is not or should not be in evidence because of the energy efficiency programs in this state.
And as far
Hello, Internet. Hope everybody's having a fantastic Sunday evening. I thought I'd start you off with a little Gavin Newsom gaslighting. All right, Scarlett wants to say hi to everybody. This is Scarlett, if you're new to the show. She is the star, not me, the star of this gigantic high-budget show that I got going on here. How you doing tonight, Scarlett? Okay, you're saying hi to everybody? All right, go lay down. Go lay down, Mama. All right. How is everybody this evening? It's good to see you. Haven't seen you since, what, last Monday, I think, and that was pre-election. Wally World, Casey Martin, nice to see you. Yes, Scarlett says hi to you both. Hope you guys are having a fantastic evening. You guys ready to make America great again? You guys ready to make California great again? We had quite the turn, quite the turn of events here in California. A lot of the state flipped red. A lot of the counties that previously voted for Biden voted for Trump this time, and that is highly encouraging. We're still, according to the official count in California, which is still only about 72% counted right now for some reason, because all the voting machines and making hand counting ballots illegal in California is supposed to make things faster, but for some reason we're way behind every other state in the country. It's weird how that works out. Well, yeah, it looks like I think we're turning the ship around, folks. A lot of people don't believe me. A lot of people think that California is a wasteland. It's a lost cause. It's been lost to the communists, and I don't agree. I don't agree at all. You talk to a lot of people out here, even in the blue areas, they're done with all this woke nonsense, all this insanity that's going out here. They don't want their daughters competing against boys in sports, and they don't want ideology jammed down their kids' throats in school. They're sick of the gas prices. They're sick of the utility prices that we were just talking about. Gavin Newsom gaslighting you guys and saying that our utility bills are cheaper than Texas and Florida. A couple of hours ago, I had a conversation with a gentleman named Michael Hogan, who is a scientist out of the Monterey area. And we were talking about a lot about solar and wind, because that's sort of his specialty. And it's all a giant money laundering operation. It gets federal subsidies, state subsidies, and this green energy initiative that Gavin Newsom is pushing so hard out here it doesn't have anything to do with the environment. It doesn't have anything to do with global warming or climate change or anything like that. It's all about funneling money back into their pockets, back into their campaigns, back into their friends' pockets. It's a giant racket, and we're the ones that foot the bill. We're the ones that have to pay insanely high electricity, gas, energy costs all around. I mean, there's a lot of focus on gas, obviously, right now, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, but our energy costs are insane. All of you guys, and you guys are in California, heating and electricity is off the rails out here. It's like a second mortgage for some people. So let's get into some things. Casey Martin, Wally World, nice to see you guys. Let's see. We're going to need a $10 gallon gas before the insane leftists to finally change this course. Yeah, I know. It's going to take a $10 a gallon gas out here for people to finally saying, you know what, enough. I'm voting Republican. A lot of people. But again, ballot harvesting, no voter ID requirements. We got to fix that. We got to fix that first. So let's get right into it, shall we? We've got Gavin Newsom and Trump apparently going to war. So right after Trump got elected, and I haven't seen you guys since before the election, so it's quite interesting. Right after Trump got elected, Gavin Newsom comes out and says he's going to hold an emergency special session to safeguard the fundamental freedoms we hold so dear here in California. We will continue to stand up for basic American values, he says. So let's listen to what Gavin Newsom has to say about this. I know he triggers you guys. He triggers me too. It's hard to listen to this guy, but we're gonna have to. Raider Mom over in the Monterey Bay. My mortgage and utility bills could afford me a mansion in another state. Yeah, I know. I get it. I believe it. It's off the rails out here. Let's listen to Gavin gaslight us a little more, shall we? All right, this is straight from his Twitter account. Him talking about this emergency session he's going to hold in the assembly. So let's see what he has to say for himself.
We are calling and have called for an emergency special session of our state legislature, firmly focused on the values we hold dear that I think are universal values and are American values as it relates to freedoms and individual liberty, as it relates to the issues of reproductive freedom in particular, as it relates to the freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water, and environmental stewardship, planting firmly our feet as it relates to continuing to advance our low carbon green growth strategies, to do the same as it relates to vulnerable communities.
So right off the bat there, Trump's already come out on the record saying that he wouldn't sign some sort of national abortion bill. That would go against what Supreme Court has said, kicking it back to the states. It's a states' rights issue. Trump's done in that regard. He already said he won't sign any sort of national abortion ban. And then Gavin immediately brings up his green energy stuff. And I think that is the key thing about this emergency session that he wants to talk about. People don't realize how much federal funding goes into these offshore wind projects that I talk about a lot, and a lot of people aren't even aware that it's going on. It's going on a lot over on the East Coast, I think off the coast of Rhode Island, and it's a failure. It's an absolute failure. It doesn't make sense cost-wise or energy-wise in terms of return on investment and it providing enough energy to actually fuel a state. It just doesn't make any sense. But there's huge money behind it. There's gigantic money behind it, and they're planning this gigantic offshore wind project out in Morro Bay. A lot of people aren't aware of it, but what this will do to Morro Bay, it'll do all sorts of things. You already know what it does to the whales. It kills whales. Michael Schellenberger gets way into that, but it's also horrible for birds. They get caught up in the blades of the turbines, and right where they plan on putting it in Morro Bay is this. Every year, it's like a flight path for tons of different migratory birds, and they're going to plan on putting a bunch of fans right in the way of all these migratory birds, which will kill endangered birds. It'll also turn Morro Bay into this huge industrialized town. It's a small surf town with a population of like 10,000. It's tiny, and it's beautiful out there. And you'll have these gigantic ships that have to service these windmills. They're huge tankers, like the size of cruise ships. It's an absolute horrible ideal. And again, there's huge money behind it. And it's all a giant money laundering operation. And I think that's Gavin's biggest concern, is losing these federal subsidies that he gets to launder money back into his friends' pockets and his own campaigns. This stuff's got to stop. And Trump and Gavin are going to go to war over this.
We're not going to shrink, and we're not going to shy or fall prey to the rhetoric around demeaning and belittling vulnerable communities, scapegoating vulnerable communities. We're going to have their back. We're going to have your back. Even if you don't live in the state of California, we're going to have your back. We are calling and have called for an emergency special session of our state legislature, firmly focused on the values we hold dear that I think are universal values, that are American values, as it relates to freedoms and individual liberty, as it relates to the issues of reproductive freedom in particular, as it relates to the freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water.
So that's the fear mongering that he's doing. He's trying to make it an environmental issue. It's not. It's absolutely not. And he's trying to make it an abortion issue. He's saying nothing here. What's this emergency session all about? I'm really curious to see what sort of insane bills that they're going to pass that I'm sure his creepy friend Scott Wiener will author.
An environmental stewardship, planting firmly our feet as it relates to continuing to advance our low carbon green growth strategies. To do the same as it relates to vulnerable communities. We're not going to shrink and we're not going to shy or fall prey to the rhetoric around demeaning and belittling vulnerable communities, scapegoating vulnerable communities. We're going to have their back. We're going to have your back.
All right, we already listened to this. All right, you get it. Jackie Rataco over on X. Let's see. This Democratic legislature needs to read a map. We delivered this election. We are poised to take back the state in 2 years. They are on notice. And that map that you speak of, I have right here. So look what they did. Look at California. So this is 2020 versus 2024. Big change. And you know, oh no, it does show Orange County down here. So Orange County is the only coastal county that went red. I'm surprised that these counties on the border here, neither one of them, San Diego County and I forget what county this is, didn't flip red. It's sort of amazing to me that they didn't, but you can see the majority of California is red. Looks like, what is this, Nevada County up here? They didn't flip red because a bunch of Silicon Valley people are moving out there. But yeah, so let's read Trump's response to old Gavin Newsom here. So Trump put this out, I believe this was yesterday, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's parody account shared this. So Trump says, Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to kill our nation's beautiful California. For the first time ever, more people are leaving than coming in. He is using the term Trump-proof as a way of stopping the great things that can be done, make California great again. But I just overwhelmingly won the election. People are being forced to leave due to his and others' insane policy decisions. He puts insane policy decisions in all caps. Like the ridiculously rerouting of millions of gallons of water a day from the north out into the Pacific Ocean, rather than using it free of charge for the towns, cities, and farms dotted all throughout California. They're making it impossible to build a reasonable priced car, the unchecked and unbalanced homeless catastrophe. The cost of everything, in particular groceries, is out of control. Also, as an agent for the United States of America on voting and elections, I will be demanding that voter ID and proof of citizenship are necessary parts of the component of the voting process. So I sort of have a theory what's going to happen here. So if he enacts, and I think we got both branches of the House and Trump in office. So I think we can get like a national voting ID law or bill or something passed that will require all states to require ID to vote in federal elections. How will California respond to that? I bet they'll split up the ballots for, I think I lost the, I'll have to go back to this. It's okay. I might have lost the audio, guys, here. I think he's going to split up the ballots. I think if it's not, actually, no, he'll have to do this every 2 years. I think for federal elections, president, senators, congressmen, I think he'll end up putting those on one ballot, and then he'll have local elections on another ballot. That's just me speculating. But if he does that, they're trying to rig it. Yeah, you don't have to show ID to vote in just local elections, but you do in federal elections. I think that's something he would consider doing because he's so damn shady. So let's keep going here because we got Scott Wiener also responded. Scott Wiener, that if you guys don't know who Scott Wiener is, I'm sure you all do. He is the California state senator out of San Francisco County. And he is the author of some of the most horrible bills that have come through in the last, 6 years, something like that. So let's go over to it was Wall Street Apes that posted this. I haven't listened to it yet because I wanted to react to it live just to see, just so my reaction would be authentic for you guys. So let's see what Scott Wiener has to say. Wall Street Ape says Elon Musk called California State Senator Scott Wiener a pedophile apologist. Didn't call him a pedophile. I called him a pedophile apologist. Scott Wiener says they will block all Democrat Trump, Scott Wiener says they will block all Donald Trump administrative initiatives. Okay, let's see what he says. Shawnee Marie, Newsom is a devil. I agree. Jackie Rataco, Chinese money behind this win stuff too. Yep. Jackie Newsom thinks he has a mandate, but he does not. His electric car initiative by 2035 is danger. We're going to talk about that too, because Toyota responded to that. And yeah, we'll get into that in a bit.
California is ready to fight for our people and for our values. Trump is president. He's going to control the U.S. Senate. He may control the House of Representatives, and we can debate forever why we got here, why people voted for Trump. But regardless of why, we are where we are, and we have a huge problem on our hands. California is ready for this fight. We have worked hard for years to protect marriage equality in our state, to protect LGBTQ kids and their families if they have to flee here from other states. We have worked hard to shore up protections for abortion and other reproductive health services. We've strengthened our climate laws. We've done an enormous amount of work, and there is more work ahead. Today, the governor called the legislature into special session, and we are going to be working to make sure that the Attorney General has the resources that he needs to sue the Trump administration when Trump violates the law, or to defend against lawsuits from Trump when he's trying to attack immigrants or LGBTQ people or our climate laws. I know people are exhausted. This election was exhausting. There's been just exhaustion for years with all the advocacy that
people are exhausted with California politicians is what they're exhausted with. They're exhausted with paying insanely high gas prices. They're exhausted with paying extremely high electricity prices. And it's all because of California's green initiative bullshit that they keep pushing. And I mean, Trump doesn't have to sue them for this stuff. He can pull funding. He can pull the federal subsidies from all these green initiatives, the solar, the wind. He could pull the federal subsidies. He can also get rid of the California exemptions that they have through the EPA that allows them to force oil refineries to have all these different mixtures, all these different blends, they call them, for specifically for California, and then the seasonal blends as well, which drives up prices. He can't do much about all these insane taxes that they add on top of our gas prices as they currently sit. I mean, per gallon, we're paying like $1.60 per gallon in taxes, just on top of the fuel costs as it is. And that is going to go up like another 65 cents. And we're going to look at that in a minute here.
We all have been doing. And it's totally normal for people to take a minute, but then we got to get back up and we have to fight for our core values to make sure that we remain a democracy and that everyone is included. So let's fight, and I look forward to being out there with you. California is ready to fight for.
This psychopath got like 73% of the vote. Oh man. He beat Yvette Corcoran. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. I was heavily in her corner, but I think specifically San Francisco elections are amongst the most fraudulent in the entire state, because I don't understand, even with how insane people in San Francisco are, I don't understand how he can get 73% of the vote. It's maddening to me. Old Doe, nice to see you over on Rumble. let's see. No more money for Rob Bonta. Damn straight, Jackie. Because Rob Bonta is just as evil and psychotic as Gavin Newsom. So many of them are. Scott Wiener, Rob Bonta, John Laird, a ton of the different assembly members. Skinner, what's her name? Is it Nancy? I can't remember her first name. Out of I can't remember what state senator what district she represents, but she's a psycho too. She's the one that authored the bill making it no longer required to be a United States citizen in order to be a police officer in California. She offered that bill. Yes, that you don't have to be a United States citizen to be a police officer in San Francisco right now, but any police department can enact that policy if they would like to. It's pretty insane. All right, this is from Mike Sington. I hate this guy. Well, hate's a very strong word. I don't know him, but I can't stand this guy. He's just such a propagandist. He's the one that tried to start some sort of alternate media platform when Elon bought Twitter and it tanked. So he says, new Los Angeles Police Department Chief Jim McDonnell says police will not participate in mass deportations. What I say here is any talk of mass roundup, this is his quote from Jim McDonnell. What I say here is that any talk of mass roundups or the police department being involved in that, we don't do that kind of thing. Okay, fine. I mean, Trump doesn't need to come right out and do mass deportations. They can pass laws against sanctuary states. Sanctuary states, to me, I don't understand how it's constitutional in the first place, saying that, if an illegal immigrant breaks the law, even if it's a misdemeanor, their local police departments aren't allowed to cooperate with ICE. They give illegal immigrants funding, subsidies, all these things, and they're here illegally. And I don't understand how California can get away with being a sanctuary state, especially being a border sanctuary state. So whatever Trump can do to cut off funding to sanctuary states, and if they could take out the social safety net that sanctuary states have created and outlaw employing illegal immigrants, I mean, a lot of people are going to start leaving on their own. So, I mean, those would be the first steps. And then, I'm not a huge fan of like the knocking door to door, asking for papers thing, but Trump seems pretty dead set on deporting a lot of people. And we're going to see how that goes down. It's going to be interesting to see how California State Police, city police, sheriff's departments deal with this, because it's going to come to a head. This is going to be a thing. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going to happen. Let's see. Jackie over on X. How did all the conservative initiatives prevail and the crazy blue politicians get reelected? You mean like Prop 36? I'm not sure. Let's see. Why is I keep losing my browser connection. So let's go over to Kevin Dalton here. He's got now we're getting into the gas thing about California, because this just came out. It's been the talk of Twitter, because California gas prices are going to go up 65 cents a gallon is what we're hearing. So let's see. Is that working? Hopefully you guys had audio when creepy ass Scott Wiener was talking. So this is California's C.A.R.B, the California Air Resources Board, which is comprised of only two elected officials, one elected by the state Senate, one elected by the state assembly, and all the rest were hand appointed by Gavin Newsom. And they are late Friday night, they announced that let's see just what Kevin Dalton says. So he says, C.A.R.B is taking a moment away from the voting to increase California's gas prices by 10% to let Californians know that it's actually the greedy oil companies and internal combustion vehicles causing the high gas prices in California. It's more gaslighting, but they voted. I think it's another blend, another requirement that they're going to put on refineries that will in turn jack up gas prices by 65 cents a gallon, which is a lot. It's a lot. And if you ask, it's a tax. So it'll go straight into the California slush fund coffers. And heck, Chiva, sorry, my dog's knocking shit over. Would you stop? Well, we have a massive budget deficit in California, and Gavin has to recoup his losses somewhere. So what's he going to do? Tax drivers. And I already talked about how all of a sudden, somehow, over the last 5 years, 10 years, California has turned what were just ordinary freeways that we all use, and we used to have a commuter lane, which meant you had to have one or two or three people in the car in order to use that lane. In most places, it was just two people in the car. If you had a passenger, you could use that lane. It was the carpool lane, the express lane. And now on freeways like Highway 101 between San Jose and San Francisco, Highway 880 between Fremont and Oakland, parts of Highway 680, and other freeways, that same lane is now a fast track lane. And you have to have a fast track to use it. And they charge you a certain amount it'll be like 75% or 75 cents to travel between this exit and that exit. And then during peak rush hour times, they jack the rate up. It's not just a flat rate in order to just be able to drive in that lane. So you could end up spending $25 a day if you're driving from Santa Clara to San Francisco every day if you want to use that lane, where before all you had to have was a passenger. And now that you're not exempt if you have a passenger. It's just you get charged. It's insane. So they're always nickel and diming the citizens of California to recoup their losses from all the money that they put into their slush funds and their money laundering operations. So let's listen to this lady from C.A.R.B and hear why she is going to be voting to jack up our gas prices.
Through the past 2 years, and in particular over the most recent special session, the legislature and the governor have been discussing the importance of ensuring affordable, equitable, and reliable fueling options for Californians as we transition away from fossil fuels. What has been clear through these conversations is that Californians are experiencing the negative impact of our reliance on fossil fuels, whether from unpredictable gas prices controlled by a small number of companies.
This is the gaslighting that they do. They act like they're sticking up for us somehow because I gotta listen to this again. It's infuriating. The gaslighting from these people is absolutely infuriating because it's the don't believe your lying eyes type stuff. I'm going to start this over.
Through the past 2 years, and in particular over the most recent special session, the legislature and the governor have been discussing the importance of ensuring affordable, equitable, and reliable fueling options for Californians as we transition away from fossil fuels.
Equitable, that's the key word in there. I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but if you look at the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, all this stuff that they're doing falls right in line with that. I'm not going to say 100%. It's about control. It's about restricting our movement, that kind of thing. But they want to price us out of driving gas vehicles. And then when everybody switches over to electric, they're going to start charging everybody per mile. They want to keep people from driving. It seems like they want to restrict our movement. And how are they going to do that? They're going to make it unaffordable. They're going to make it unaffordable to travel from San Jose to San Francisco. It has nothing to do with the environment. And she's trying to say that they're doing it to save us money. It's infuriating, these things that they say.
What has been clear through these conversations is that Californians are experiencing the negative impact of our reliance on fossil fuels, whether from unpredictable gas prices controlled by a small number of companies, or from the climate and air quality damage caused by the combustion of fossil fuels.
This is maddening. Californians are experiencing a crisis being inflicted on them purely by California government. Oh, it's infuriating. Jackie over on X, we'll see how Trump deals with the sanctuary states. It's time. I agree. Casey Martin, constitutional officers are sworn to, over on Rumble, Casey Martin, constitutional officers are sworn to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Knowingly failing to do so makes them domestic enemies. I wouldn't disagree with that. Casey Martin, the SCOTUS Chevron deference decision should apply to entities at the state level, such as C.A.R.B. I need to look into that more. Shauna Marie over on X. I agree, Michael. They want us restricted. The whole 15-minute cities thing is really what it seems like. And yeah, but what's the, like, they don't want us to be able to heat our homes either. Like, what's the idea around making energy insanely expensive for all Californians? I can't wrap my brain around it. Casey Martin over on Rumble. They'll also have EV kill switches, which will only be able to drive at their authority discretion. Yeah. I mean, I love my 79 Chrysler. I genuinely love it, but it is not good on gas, especially here in California. It is rough. Let's keep going with this CARB thing. So this is from KCRA Channel 3. And they say California Air Resources Board approves new clean air rules that are expected to raise gas prices. So the California Air Resources Board on Friday night approved a new clean air standards that are expected to raise gas prices, a proposal that faced fierce criticism from lawmakers for the board's lack of transparency on its cost to consumers, and also from environmental groups who said it doesn't do enough to reduce air pollution. Doesn't do enough. Okay. All members of the board, but two, Dean Flores and Diane Takvarian, voted in favor of the updates 12-2. This policy is key to the electric vehicle transition that we need, said the board member Susan Shaheen. I believe that's the lady we just heard from. As we move forward, there is still a lot of urgency, but a lot of uncertainty, which is why the guardrails and monitoring is so important. The vote capped a 12-hour-long meeting on updates to C.A.R.B's low-carbon fuel standard. The LCFS is a large, complex program that claims to meet the state's goal of significantly cutting the state's use of oil and gas by 2030, Agenda 2030, a deadline that is set in state law. Remember, they want to make it so you can't buy a gas-powered vehicle in California after 2030. It's 5 years away, you guys. I mean, think about how fast the last 4 years went by. The last insane 4 years that we had. Let's see. Let's keep going. The update to the LCFS aimed to cut transportation emissions by 30%. The plan will add new costs to oil refineries, while board staff has acknowledged those costs are expected to be passed through to the gas pump. So it's making it more expensive. They're making it more expensive while saying they're doing it to save us money. It's insane. Despite initially projecting prices would rise up to 47 cents per gallon in 2025, C.A.R.B refused to provide an estimate ahead of Friday's approval. Democrats and Republican lawmakers pressured the board to be more transparent about gas price impacts. Questions mounted as Governor Gavin Newsom state lawmakers wrapped up the special legislative session in which they passed a proposal to set new rules for oil refineries. So is this the special legislative session that Gavin Newsom called to protect Californians against the evil orange man? Is this what their plan was? We're going to protect you Californians by jacking up your gas prices. That's what they're doing, which they claimed would save money for customers at the gas pump. What? They passed a proposal to set new rules for oil refineries, which they claimed would save money for customers at the gas pump. Insane. C.A.R.B ignored KCRA's repeated questions for an interview for a week and a half before holding the virtual news conference to say staff is unable to analyze the LCFS impact on gas prices. So they ignored them leading up to the election, because notice how they waited until after the election to announce this. And they did it on a Friday night, hoping this whole thing would blow over the weekend. C.A.R.B board member Hector De La Torre, not Torres, De La Torre, on Friday night blamed the oil refineries for some of the scrutiny around the program. Of course, it's the oil refineries' fault. They're pointing the finger at us, he said regarding the gas prices, and that the media and some elected followed this is too bad. It's super obvious to see. It's super easy to see. If the government puts more restrictions on the oil refineries, making it so they have to do more things in order to meet the California's new emissions requirements, it's going to cost more money. And that money, that extra cost is going to be passed on to us. Anybody can see this clear as day, and they just gaslight us and say, oh, it's the oil refinery's fault. It's like, why is gas so much more expensive in California than it is in the rest of the country? It's the oil refineries just picking on poor California. That's what's going on. Even though California sits on top of enough crude to power the entire country, and probably more. It's insane. Board member Eric Guerra asked the board to track retail gas prices with the new LCFS's standards in place every 6 months. Transportation costs really impact families, he said. Yeah. The proposal is wide-ranging and has broader impacts beyond the oil and gas companies, but other markets such as agriculture. So that's the thing. Gas prices affect everything. If gas prices goes up, that means delivering goods to stores is going to be more expensive. That price is also going to be passed on to the consumer. So you're going to be paying more at the gas pump. You're going to be paying more at the grocery store. All the prices are going to go up because everybody has to recoup their costs. Who pays for it? We do. The proposal is wide-ranging and has a broader impacts beyond oil and gas companies, but other markets such as agriculture. The program benefits biofuel companies and electric vehicle makers as the state moves to transition away from oil and gas toward electrifying its transportation system. We already don't have an electrical grid that can handle this increase in electrical demands. C.A.R.B heard more than 6 hours of public comments from 152 people. Critics of the proposal outweighed those willing to voice the support at the meeting in Riverside. Environmental advocates made up the majority of those against the proposal, who said it did not do enough to reduce carbon emissions and pollution in California. Who are these environmental advocate groups? I would like to know. C.A.R.B must do better, said Nina Robertson, an attorney with Earth Justice. Okay, so that's one of the groups. Earth Justice. Why don't you guys look into them? Earth Justice. Are they on the up and up? The incoming Trump administration has promised to undermine California's climate progress and this agency's authority. Good. You're unelected. This will be a fight for our very survival of the bedrock environmental protections. It is critical. It is a critical moment. We need C.A.R.B to muster every resource for zero climate transportation. Zero climate their whole net zero thing. It's all about control, people. Environmental justice groups also raised concerns about the expanding the use of biofuel and the possibility it will result in food shortages and deforestation. Board members on Friday said they wanted to ensure C.A.R.B will analyze and make changes to the proposal if it results in negative impacts. Others praised it for striking the right balance as California transitions away from its reliance on oil and gas to a more electrified transportation system. The program revisions will serve to accelerate the transition to electric vehicles that is central to the state's climate strategy, said Spencer Reeder with Audi. The LCFS program is unique in its ability to incentivize the utilization of zero emissions battery electric vehicles. Right, zero emissions, meaning the cars themselves don't produce emissions. Like there's no emissions associated with creating electricity. Generating more emissions reduces reductions and better air quality. So our grid won't be able to handle the extra demand, which we still get from coal. We still create electricity by burning coal. So what do we have to do? We'll have to import energy from other states who are also burning coal. And the farther electricity has to travel, the more electricity gets lost over the lines, thereby increasing the cost of electricity as well. We care about the environment also. We also want clean air, Lackey said. We want our children, our grandkids to have the same resources Mother Nature gave all of us. But this is also about financial survival. Shut up. The leader of C.A.R.B, Chair Lane Randolph, acknowledged acknowledged President-elect Trump's administration will likely challenge the state's environmental efforts. Good. Let's be realistic. The tools in our toolbox may be limited going forward, she said. We cannot continue with the status quo. Any action by the board today is not a conclusion, but an important milestone. California State Minority Leader Brian Jones called the vote blatant price gouging by the Newsom administration. Thank you, Brian Jones. Californians have had enough. We already pay the highest gas prices in the nation, and they are about to get much higher, Jones said in a statement. It's time to rein in CARB's unchecked power, starting by revoking the federal waivers, by revoking the federal waivers that allow them to do whatever they want, whenever they want, without the consent of the Californians who pay for the price of their political agenda. There you go. Yes, revoke the exemptions that they get through the EPA. I want the EPA gone, but if everybody else has to abide by these certain rules and California doesn't, what is the EPA even there for? The sentiment was also echoed by Assembly Republican leader James Gallagher. Californians have to be clear. They cannot afford the higher gas prices. This is a new rule. This new rule will cost. Gallagher shared in a statement, Democrat politicians have stood in the way of every effort to stop the oil price spike. They will have to answer their outraged constituents when gas prices jump yet again. Will they? When will people actually speak out about this? The world is watching California to see if we will maintain our leadership or fracture under the internal pressure of perfectionism. California has a long history of enacting visionary and affordable climate policies that are durable enough to endure major shifts in national politics like we just witnessed, said the state senator Henry Stern on social media platform X. Okay. Stern chairs the Joint Legislative Committee on Climate Change Policies. The reforms proposed by C.A.R.B in the final rule are responsive and promising, but we will require ongoing oversight, and I am committed to providing it, Stern wrote. Delaying or undermining this rule today would just disrupt billions of dollars in low carbon investment heading to California. There it is. They bury it at the end. Delaying or undermining this rule today wouldn't just disrupt billions of dollars in low carbon investment heading to California. Where's it heading from? Where are they getting that money from? It would play right into Big Oil's multi-state propaganda campaign, misleading drivers that clean air regulations like this rule will cause pain at the pump. Just blatant gaslighting. The new LCFS standards go into effect in 2025. So get ready, folks. It's about to get more expensive. Unbelievable. Okay, let's see. Casey Martin over on Rumble. California government is trying to seize refineries after chasing out private companies. Oil is a national security strategic asset, which Gavin will soon learn. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like they're trying to nationalize. They're trying to centralize the means of production with oil. What is that again? What is that called again? When you centralize the means of production? I bet that will be something that they propose soon. We have to take over the oil refineries. We can no longer let them be private. The California government has to take over oil refineries in the name of the greater good. That's what they're going to say. And gas prices will go up even farther from then because central planning doesn't work when it comes to the means of production of anything. Casey Martin, the U.S. military cannot function without oil and gas. Yep. Bob Tiergarten. What's up, dude? Nice to see you. So, all right. Who is the California Air Resources Board? It's these folks here. So this nice group of people here. And it looks like the only people that were elected, not even elected, they were appointed by the state. One was appointed by the state Senate and one was appointed by the state Assembly. Yeah, Hector de la Torre was the one appointed by the Assembly. So, yeah, these wonderful unelected individuals. So, what are we paying right now before this stuff goes into effect? So you can see this stuff on the gas pump at I believe all gas stations. Most of these taxes are listed on the gas pump. So just California state excise tax, 59.6 cents per gallon. Just that. Imagine your gas just drops by 60 cents. Cap and trade, 28 cents. That's California tax. Sales tax, 12 cents. So 12 cents sales tax per gallon on gas in California. CARB regulated costs, another 23 cents. So that's the California Air Resources Board. That's what they're already charging us. Underground storage regulation costs. That's another thing that California does to gas stations. And I think all gas stations by the end of this year, it might be by the end of 2025, they have to put like an outer tank around their storage tanks. You'll see a bunch of gas stations like retrofitting. They have to put like a bladder around their tanks. California's required them all to do that. So what is that going to do? I mean, how does that cost get passed on to us at the pump? So federal excise costs. So that's 18, I guess that's a federal tax, 18.4 cents. So this total per gallon California gas tax is $1.43 per gallon. So just California stuff is already $1.43 a gallon, and that's about to be over $2 a gallon. So just, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when I paid $2 a gallon. I mean, not for very long, but $2 a gallon for gas. I think it actually dropped down that low during the pandemic when nobody was driving. That was like one of the only good things is gas prices became so cheap because demand went way, way, way down. So it's $2 per gallon. It's about to be in California above, normal prices that you guys throughout the rest of the country pay. Oh, it's infuriating. All right, so let's keep going here. So Toyota says California-led EV mandates are impossible as states fall short of goal. So this is their Agenda 2030 shit. So Detroit Toyota Motor sounded the alarm Friday that California-led electric vehicle mandates that are set to start next year are impossible to meet, and if they're not changed, will lead to less customer choice in several states. Current requirements under the California Air Resources Board Advanced Clean Cars 2 regulations call for 35% of 2026 model year vehicles, which will begin to be introduced next year, to be zero-emission vehicles. So, yeah, they're slowly, every year they're demanding they produce more and more zero-emission vehicles. Battery electric fuel cell and, to an extent, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles qualify as zero-emission vehicles under the regulations. I have not seen forecasts by anyone, government or private, anywhere that has told us that this number is achievable. At this point, it looks impossible. So it's not just oil and gas that are, blaming the government. It's auto manufacturers too. At this point, it looks impossible, Jack Hollis, Chief Operating Officer of Toyota Motor North America, said during the virtual meeting roundup Friday. Demand is there. It's going to limit a customer's choice of the vehicles they want. California Air Resources Board reports 12 states and Washington, D.C. have adopted the rules. Roughly half of them did so starting with the 2027 model year. The EV mandates are part of CARB's Advanced Clean Cars regulations to require 100% of new vehicle sales in the state of California to be zero emissions. So it's not just California. The other states are adopting California Air Resources Board's policies. How much money is getting thrown around to do this? J.D. Power said no states are in accordance with the EV mandate as of this year. Only California, 27%, Colorado, 22%, and Washington, 20%, have seen at least 20% of retail sales being electric vehicles or PHEVs this year. Other states such as New York, 12%, New Mexico, 5%, and Rhode Island, 9%, are far from compliant. The national average of EV adoption for retail sales is only 9% through October, J.D. Power said Friday. Hollis said that the mandates are unchanged. It will lead to unnatural acts in the automotive industry that have already begun at some automakers, where companies are supplying states which have agreed to the rules with a disproportionate amount of electrified models. It's going to distort the industry. It's going to distort the business. Why? Because it's unnatural to what the current demand is in the marketplace. Hollis, a longtime automotive executive, said several automotive industries previously told CNBC that the EV mandate issue needed to be addressed regardless of who won election this year. The California Air Resources Board did not immediately respond to a request for comment. What a shocker. The president elected Donald Trump's first term in office. A legal battle ensued to revoke states' ability to set their own emission standards. Several offices expect Trump to renew that push once he's back in the White House. Good. Hall said that he hopes it doesn't come to that this time around, and that states, federal, and auto industry can come to a resolution. He also He also said that Toyota would prefer one national standard, a sentiment many automakers previously shared. We would always want a 50-state rule because that way we can treat all customers, all dealers equally, fairly, not equitably, equally, fairly, whatever that might be, Hall said. Our hope would be that California and the Environmental Protections Agency would match up, and it would be reduced down to something that is achievable, even if it's a push or even if it's a reach. But at this point, it's an impossible stage. So it's not just the fuel restrictions that the California Air Resources boards are putting on refineries. It's the restrictions that they're putting on automakers, all for this Agenda 2030 nonsense that they're doing. It's all about control, people. So this is just from the EPA's website. You got the waiver process. So the Clean Air Act allows California to seek a waiver of the preemption which prohibits states from enacting emission standards for new motor vehicles. EPA must grant a waiver, however, before California's rules may be enforced. When California files a waiver request, EPA publishes a notice for public hearing and written comment on the Federal Register. The written comment period remains open for a period of time after public hearing. Once the comment period expires, EPA reviews the comments and the administration determines whether the requirements for obtaining the waiver have been met. So, guaranteed, somehow California is greasing the wheels behind the scenes at the EPA to get them to grant them these exemptions. These need to be gone. The EPA needs to be gone. It's all a racket. It's all a freaking racket, you guys, and it's frustrating as hell. All right. Bob Tiergarten over on Rumble. Bastards and thieves. I agree. I 100% agree. It's super frustrating. It's very frustrating. So let's see how Trump is not only going to respond to California, but what he has planned. There's quite a few videos that I want to play for you guys because Trump has some things. He's got a bunch of different 10-point plans that he's making in regards to all sorts of different things: education, healthcare, energy, all these different things. So let's go to the first one. This is from MK Truth Ultra. So he says Trump plans to deploy National Guard and federal assets to every major city to restore law and order, allowing citizens to sue local officials for damages caused by their policies, and passing concealed carry reciprocity legislation allowing gun owners to carry beyond their state lines. So this is the big one for me. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of this deploying the National Guard idea. I don't want to live in a police state, but the gun reciprocity thing would mean if you got your concealed carry permit over in Utah, you'd also have reciprocity in California. There's already some states that do that with each other. I think it's like Utah, Arizona, and a couple other states. So if you go and to get your concealed carry in California, when you go to, my best friend just did it. I don't have mine yet. But they encourage you to get a concealed carry permit. I think it's in Arizona or Utah because that will give you reciprocity in multiple states. Well, Trump is trying to make it to where if you get a concealed carry permit in any state, it's legit for any of the states. So it would actually bypass California's concealed carry permit process, which, I mean, we actually made progress in this regard because California used to be up to the counties, and you would have what's called may issue counties where they didn't have to issue you a concealed carry. In fact, they wouldn't issue you a concealed carry if you applied for one. You'd have to give them a reason for why you wanted a concealed carry. And if they didn't find that reason being good enough, you wouldn't get it. The Supreme Court passed a decision that said they have to issue a concealed carry permit. If you ask, if you apply and you go through the steps, you have to get one. So what did California do? They made it super expensive and they backlogged their books. So it's like a 2-year long process to get your concealed carry permit now. So what do? You get your concealed carry permit in Utah and it works in California now. You can just completely bypass it if Trump goes through with this and it actually works. So let's listen to what Trump has to say here. Let's go over to MK Truth Ultra here. Sorry, I should have had this pulled up already. All right, let's listen to what Trump has to say here. This is his 10-point bullet plan. It's like a 5-minute video, though.
Joe Biden and the defund the police Democrats have turned our once great cities into cesspools of bloodshed and crime. There's never been anything like it. Here's my plan to restore law and order in our cities and throughout our country, frankly. First, because police forces have been gutted by Democrats' war on police, I will sign a record investment in hiring, retention, and training for police officers nationwide. So important. This bill will also increase vital liability protections for officers because the Democrats want to take those protections away from our police.
So this I actually don't like. What do they call it? Qualified immunity for police officers. There is a lot of authoritarian police officers out there that will beat the hell out of people and there will be no repercussions for it. So I don't know if I like him increasing qualified immunity. In fact, I don't like him increasing qualified immunity. I don't like that police officers have to worry about, thinking about, am I going to end up in jail if I shoot this guy as he's coming at him with a knife? I don't like that, but I also don't like cops being able to just beat the shit out of somebody. Like there's a video going viral of the 70-year-old man that gets thrown to the ground just by some overzealous cop. I don't like the idea of cops being just immune for that. They can just do whatever they want to you. So I'm not a huge fan of this move.
Because we want them to do their jobs, and we want them to do their jobs right. You can't take their protections away if you're going to have them do their jobs properly. Second, to qualify for this new funding and all other Justice Department grants, I will insist that local jurisdictions return to proven common sense policing measures, such as stop and frisk. Very simple.
He's bringing back Giuliani's stop and frisk. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that either, but when Giuliani was doing stop and frisk in New York, it turned things around really fast. So I'm not a fan of cops just being able to stop anyone and pat them down. I'm not a fan of it, but this is what you get when you roll back law enforcement so much. You're going to get a strong man that's going to come in and enact authoritarian policies. I'm not for it, but this is sort of the reality that we're dealing with now. M. Schwartz over on the X platform just finished watching Chris Moritz interview with Tucker Carlson about California. It's fantastic. It's such a great interview. That dude is awesome. Yeah, I'd love to get him on here. That guy really puts things in perspective about California.
You stop them and you frisk them, strictly enforcing existing gun laws against convicted felons, cracking down on the open use of illegal drugs, and cooperating with ICE to get criminal aliens off our streets and get them out of our country. Third,
I also think convicted felons, if you served your time and everything, you should be able to get a firearm after you've served your time. You should be able to vote as well. I'm not a fan of, if it's a violent crime, murder, rape, stuff like that, maybe, probably. But, if you got convicted of theft and it was a felony and now you can no longer have a firearm for the rest of your life, that's kind of screwed up to me. Casey Martin over on Rumble. Stop, question, and frisk under suspicion to detain, then probable cause. Suspicion to detain. Got you.
we will go after the radical Marxist prosecutors who are abolishing cash bail refusing to charge crimes, and surrendering our cities to violent criminals. They have surrendered like never before.
And on that note, Pamela Price, the district attorney out of Alameda County, has been recalled, along with Sheng Tao, the mayor of Oakland.
Will direct the DOJ to open civil rights investigations into radical left prosecutors' offices, such as those in Chicago, LA, and San Francisco, to determine whether they have illegally engaged in race-based enforcement of the law. I will also work with Congress to give the victims of their Marxist policies the right to sue local officials for harm and suffering, and it has been great that they have caused. If your small business is pillaged because shoplifting goes unpunished, if you're brutally attacked by a violent felon released without bail or bond, then you will be entitled to massive damages. Fourth, I will order the Department of Justice, or some people call it the Department of Injustice right now, and Homeland Security dismantle every gang, street crew, and drug network in America. Every single one of them will be dismantled. We already know where these turf wars and drug dens are. We know who the people are. And we're going to charge them and charge the culprits with every crime that we can find. We're going to be fair, but we're going to be tough.
M. Schwartz, if you just watched Chris Moritz interview on Tucker, then you heard him talking about how the Mexican mafia is running the drug scene out here in California, and they have California on lock. So it sounds like Trump is going to war with California government. I mean, he specifically mentioned San Francisco, even though their DA was already recalled, Chesapeake, another Soros DA, much like Pamela Price, both Soros DAs, both refused to prosecute crime. I mean, there's a famous interview of Chesapeake, the former district attorney out of San Francisco, talking about how, yes, we know that it's illegal immigrants from Honduras that are dealing the drugs on the streets, but we basically have to allow them to do it, because if we don't, they'll harm their families back home. Look it up. Just look it up. Just search on X, Chesapeake Honduran drug dealers. Search something like that, and you'll find like a 2-minute video of him popping up, literally saying how they need to allow the Honduran illegal immigrants deal fentanyl on the streets of San Francisco. This is something he said on the record. It's insane. But I mean, if he's going after gun laws in California with reciprocity, he's going to go after energy stuff in California too. He's going after the drug dealers. And a lot of people would say that the cartels have California government in their pockets. So it's going to get very interesting out here in California. Trump is going to war with Gavin Newsom.
Also need the death penalty for drug dealers. So important. And I'd add to that human traffickers, drug dealers and human traffickers. They get the death penalty. Watch it stop, and stop quickly.
For the record, I'm against the death penalty. You inevitably get people killed by the state that actually didn't commit a crime. But, I mean, you guys could disagree with me on that. Oh, boy. Let's see. Casey Martin, 1968, SCOTUS versus Ohio established the Terry frisk as constitutional. Okay.
Fifth, in cities where there has been a complete breakdown of law and order, where the fundamental right of our citizens are being intolerably violated, I will not hesitate to send in federal assets, including the National Guard, until safety is restored. If Nancy Pelosi would have accepted our National Guard or our soldiers, you wouldn't have had January 6th. But she and the mayor of D.C. didn't do that. Sixth, we will end the leftist takeover of school discipline and juvenile justice. Many of these carjackers and criminals are 13, 14, and 15 years old. I will order the Education and Justice Departments to overhaul federal standards on disciplining minors. So when troubled youth are out in control, they're out on the streets and they're going wild, we will stop it. The consequences are swift, certain, and strong, and they will know that. Seventh, I will protect the right of self-defense everywhere it is under siege, and I will sign concealed carry reciprocity.
There it is.
The Second Amendment does not end at the state line. In addition, I will, of course, fully secure the border, dramatically increase interior enforcement, and wage war on the cartels. We have never had a border so secure as it was just 2 years ago. And now our border is the worst anywhere in the world and possibly of all time. There's never been a country that allowed to happen what's happening in the United States right now, where millions of people are pouring across our borders. They come from mental institutions. They come from the prisons. They're all being let out so they can come into the United States. They're poisoning our country. We will also take back our streets from the homeless, the drug addicted, and the mentally ill.
Everything he's saying is like, it seems like it's aimed specifically at California. Like everything he's mentioning, the border. I mean, California is incentivizing people to come here. We'll protect you against ICE. We'll give you driver's licenses. We remember, to Gavin Newsom's credit, I guess, he vetoed the bill that would have given illegal immigrants $150,000 loans towards a home. Do you guys remember that? They were trying to actually give illegal immigrants not only the right to own a home in California, which is insane to me, and live in it, but they're going to give them loans. They're going to force mortgage companies to give illegal immigrants loans for $150,000 and preferential loans over Californians. So they're incentivizing illegal immigrants to come here in all sorts of different ways. They're subsidized, and then companies can hire illegal immigrants. So they can hire them at a lower rate because the illegal immigrants don't need to make as much because they're subsidized by the state with housing vouchers, food vouchers, all these social safety net programs that California has created, thereby undercutting the American worker because we're not privy to those same things. We don't get subsidized to be here. It's California incentive programs for illegal immigrants to come here are out of control. And it seems like Trump's going after all of this stuff. And I'm here for it.
I will discuss those plans in much more detail very soon. That is how I will bring back public safety to America. I want to thank you. We're going to make America great again, and we're going to make America safe again. Thank you.
Casey Martin, no, I get it. I'm with you. CCW permit translate to literally to permission. 2 A's are right. No permission needed. I agree. But that's not going to stop. That's not going to stop them from putting you in the gulag if they catch you with one, even though it's just a misdemeanor. You guys know that if you get busted carrying a firearm and that's your only crime, it wasn't in the process of committing another crime. If you're just carrying a firearm, cop sees you with one, it's a misdemeanor. Just saying. Just putting that out there. Fact check me on that. Okay, let's keep going. I got a few Trump videos that I want to play for you because he's got all sorts of policies that he's going over. This one's not as long. This is his 10-point plan to rebuild America's school system, which I bet you this is going to sound like him going after California's education system specifically. I can call it out right now. Boys and girls sports, these laws these bills that California passed that Scott Wiener authored, like making it, if a kid comes to school, a boy, and he says, I'm actually a girl and I want to wear a dress and I want you to call me Susan, and teacher sees that, it's against the law for that teacher to reach out to the kid's parents and be like, hey, your son wants me to call him Susan and he wants to wear dresses. He might be experiencing gender dysphoria. It's illegal for teachers to do that. They have to keep it a secret from the parents. California, Scott Wiener specifically, enacts all these bills that are putting the government in between parents and their kids. It's insane. So I'm very curious if Trump's going to talk about any of that stuff right here. So let's listen to what he has to say as his 10-point plan regarding education in California.
Here are 10 key ideas that will power our movement for great schools. First, we will respect the right of parents to control the education of their children. Second, we will empower parents and local school board to hire and reward great principals and teachers, and also to fire the poor ones, the one whose performance is unsatisfactory. They will be fired. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. Third, we will ensure our classrooms are focused not on political indoctrination, but on teaching the knowledge and skills needed to succeed. Reading, writing, math, science, arithmetic.
So I don't know how he does any of this without getting rid of the Department of Education. And education is a states' right thing, and school board officials are elected locally. So I don't know how he's going to do that. Maybe he gets to that.
And other truly useful subjects. Fourth, we will teach students to love their country, not to hate their country like they're taught right now. Fifth, we will support bringing back prayer to our schools. Sixth, we will achieve schools that are safe, secure, and drug-free, with immediate expulsion for any student who harms a teacher or another student. Seventh, we will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want. It's called school choice. Eighth, we will ensure students have access to project-based learning experiences inside the classroom to help train them for meaningful work outside the classroom. Ninth, we will strive to give all students access to internships and work experiences that can set them on a path to their first job. They're going to be very, very successful. I want them to be more successful than Trump. Let them go out and be more successful. I will be the happiest person in the world. But we want our children to have a great life and be successful. And 10th, we will ensure that all schools provide excellent jobs and career counseling so that high school and college students can get a head start on jobs and careers best suited to their God-given talents. This is how we will ensure a great education for every American child. And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
So I don't understand how he's going to do any of that. I'm getting rid of the Department of Education. Great. Nobody knows what they do anyway. Really, where does all that money go? I don't understand like that. I mean, unless you go after federal funding, you say, hey, California, if you don't stop doing these insane things in your schools, we're going to cut off all federal funding to your schools. That's the only way I can see him doing any of that stuff. I mean, all the crazy education crap that's going on in California schools are directly at the behest of California state government. So I'm not sure how he's going to do any of that, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Let's keep going here. Oh, Casey Martin, thank you for reminding me. If you guys are watching, please hit that like button, share, subscribe on all platforms, all that good stuff. If you're on Twitter, give it a repost. I'm sorry, if you're on X, give it a repost, like, comment. All that stuff helps the algorithm. Send it to a friend, all that kind of good stuff. Thank you, Casey. Northside, nice to see you, man, over on Rumble. What up? Hope everyone is having a good Sunday. Thank you, sir. Always good to see you. Let's keep going here. I got some more Trump stuff that I want to play, some more videos, because, I mean, he's doing what Kamala didn't do her entire campaign. He's talking specifically about key points that he's going to be, even though I don't know how he's going to do any of the stuff he just mentioned in terms of education, other than getting rid of the Department of Education. So we'll see. But he's coming out and saying specifically what he wants to do and what he plans to do. And it's almost like having 4 years out of office is going to be more beneficial to him than if he was in office the last 4 years, because he had 4 years to think about his game plan. When he first came into office, he didn't drain the swamp because he didn't know who to hire. He didn't know who was good, who was bad, and he ended up surrounding himself with a bunch of swamp creatures. This time, I guarantee you, he's put a ton of thought into all these different people that he wants to put inside his cabinet, and he's going to hit the ground running. I hope. We're gonna see what happens. So this one is about a 10-point plan to unravel the deep state. So this one should be Very interesting, because this is going to be all talking about federal stuff, intelligence agency stuff. So let's listen to Trump's 10-point plan on what he's going to do to unravel the deep state.
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all. And corruption
Oh,
it is.
enough with the music.
First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe even possible. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. And there are plenty of them.
You guys think he's going to actually release the JFK stuff, Epstein list, all the stuff that he said he was going to do the first time around? I would be interested.
Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy.
That's Operation Mockingbird, which is still completely alive, if you haven't figured that out already. I mean, he just perfectly laid out what he's going to do against Operation Mockingbird. So that's going to be interesting.
When possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every inspector general's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people.
And I'm pretty sure this music that you hear in the background, if it sounds familiar to you, I think it's the music from the very end of the movie The Dark Knight Rises. I'm pretty sure this music is from The Dark Knight Rises, specifically the very end of the movie.
Or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign. Eighth, we will continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America, and they really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these companies. It doesn't work that way. Such a public display cannot go on, and it's taking place all the time, like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
You don't hear the music, Bob? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's out of The Dark Knight Rises. I'm surprised you don't hear that. You're out on a night run? I don't know you're a runner. My people. I didn't run today. My legs are trashed. I got a little too much vert in this week, but I should have went running today, but I didn't. My legs are sore. They're very sore right now. All right, let's keep going. I got another one. So This is about the World Health Organization. That I know you guys are going to be all trumped out by the end of this episode, but you know, it is what it is. We got a lot of Trump stuff that we need to talk about. So this is from Liz Churchill. The World Health Organization has become nothing more than a corrupt globalist scam paid for by the United States, but owned and controlled by China. President Trump is over. It's over for the WHO, the WHO, not the band. Not the band, the WHO. All right, let's see what he has to say about the World Health Organization.
The World Health Organization has become nothing more than a corrupt globalist scam paid for by the United States, but owned and controlled by China. When the China virus reached our shores 3 years ago, the World Health Organization disgracefully covered the tracks of the Chinese Communist Party every single step of the way. For this reason, it was my great honor to terminate America's relationship with the World Health Organization. The United States was paying the World Health Organization almost $500 million a year. When I dropped out, I took it out of there. And for 330 million people, even though China was paying only $40 million for 1.4 billion people. So we had 330, they have 1.4, and we're paying more than 10 times the amount. That's typical for the United States because they don't know what the hell they're doing. Unfortunately, crooked Joe Biden foolishly re-entered the World Health Organization at the full price and without any negotiations or reforms. And now Biden is pushing to bypass the United States Senate to enter a pandemic treaty that would surrender American sovereignty to the World Health Organization, again, controlled by China. The draft.
Does he make you guys laugh as much as he makes me laugh? It's just his mannerisms, his voice inflection, the crooked Joe Biden. It's just, he's freaking hilarious.
The draft treaty would require the United States to send vast quantities of medical supplies to other countries in the event of another pandemic, and it would push aggressive censorship of free speech on issues of public health, just like they censored the truth about the Wuhan lab, which I said that's where it came from, remember. Under the next Trump administration, that treaty will be immediately terminated. I would not allow public health to be used as a pretext to advance the march of global government. That's what they're doing, globalists. The United States will withdraw from the corrupt World Health Organization, which, in light of its utter failure on COVID, they had a tremendous disaster on COVID, deserves to be completely abolished and replaced. Then I will work to forge a new coalition of nations that are strongly committed to protecting health while also upholding sovereignty and freedom. I want to thank you very much, but I also want to say this. I could have renegotiated the deal. I could have gone into the World Health Organization for $25 million. Biden didn't take that deal. He's paying almost $500 million. They were so anxious to get the United States back after I terminated the agreement. They were so anxious to get it back that they offered me a deal, $25 to $30 million. And I said, no, I'll wait. Could have gotten it for less, but I didn't want less at that point. We were paying almost $500 million. Could have done it for 25 to 30. Biden took the 500, almost a $500 million deal. He knew he could have gotten back in for less. So why did he pay so much? But that's just one of many things that are wrong with our country. Thank you very much.
All right. Going to war with the World Health Organization as well. Very interesting. Let's keep going here. Let's go over to DC Drano. This one's only like a minute long, and it's not one of his like prepared videos that he created. It's this is at an actual rally, and it's funny because they're attacking Trump about IVS, in vitro fertilization, saying that he was going to get rid of in vitro fertilization, make it illegal or some shit like that. And Trump came out and says the exact opposite. He is going to subsidize in vitro fertilization, which, I mean, that's a socialist policy, so I'm not a huge fan of that. Or he's going to mandate that insurance companies cover in vitro fertilization. And I'm also not a fan of that. I mean, I'm a fan of in vitro fertilization, but I'm not a fan of the government doing it. I will preface this with saying, however, the goal is to increase the population. which is, a horrible thing to say to radical progressives that think that the number one issue facing the world today is overpopulation. And Elon Musk seems to be on the exact opposite spectrum. We're not having babies and we're going to face population collapse. So that's what he's trying to battle. It's still a socialist approach. If the government is going to subsidize it, so not a huge fan of it. I would rather somehow making it the government getting out of the way to make it cheaper and increase competition for in vitro fertilization, make it more widely available, maybe deregulate somehow. But anyway, let's see what Trump has to say in regards to IVF.
I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women, IVF treatment.
So the left should be giddy about him saying that. That is a progressive thing to do. That's something a leftist would do. That is not a conservative thing to do at all. So interesting.
Because we want more babies, to put it very nicely. And for this same reason, we will also allow new parents to deduct major newborn expenses from their taxes, so that parents that have a beautiful baby will be able. So we're pro-family. Nobody's ever said that before. But the IVF treatments are expensive. It's very hard for many people to do it and to get it. But I've been in favor of IVF right from the beginning.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it's the only reason the left likes in vitro fertilization is because they want people to go through in vitro fertilization so they can abort the baby. That's why the left wants it. I'm obviously kidding, kind of. All right, this is the best news that I've seen. We're done with the Trump videos, you guys. I know you're probably all Trumped out by now, if any of you guys are even still watching. The 14 of you that are actually watching the show, I love you guys. You're the best. If you guys could hit that like button, I'd really appreciate it. Casey Martin, still there, I see. I love it. Thank you. Transparent government, they work for us. Yes, agree. Casey Martin over on Rumble. No more secret Senate votes. No more California NDAs regarding contracts with NGOs, non-governmental organizations, et cetera, et cetera. 100% with you on that. 100% with you on that. If you, I love when you're in the chat, Casey Martin, because I've actually met you in person, so that's pretty cool. You know what? I don't know if you're going to be. I think you're out of the Sacramento area, but there's another event over in Carmel that I'm probably going to be going to next Sunday as well. My buddy Michael Hogan hit me up and told me about it. It's going to be talking about a lot of the same stuff, offshore wind type stuff. So if you want, DM me if you want to come back here, and we can go grab dinner or something afterwards. Yeah, but that's happening next Sunday if you're available. So so this is my favorite news that I saw out of the Trump campaign, or the president-elect administration, if you will. I'll try to go. Okay, cool. Let me know. DM me. I'll get you the information. So this is beautiful. This is just beautiful. So Donald Trump came out on Truth Social and he said, "I will not be inviting former Ambassador Nikki Haley or former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to join the Trump administration, which is currently in formation. Okay, I'll stop with the voice. I very much enjoyed and appreciated working with them previously, and I would like to thank them for their service to our country. Make America great again." So this is encouraging to me in so many different ways. First of all, they're both swamp creatures. Secondly, you saw Mike Pompeo come out and speak at one of his last rallies that he did, and everybody's like, "Oh crap, is he bringing that swamp creature back into the fold?" And then when he was on Joe Rogan, he said Mike Pompeo is a very good guy, that kind of crap. Mike Pompeo will stab him in the back in the minute in a in a second. Just like Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is another freaking, she's like a Liz Cheney, if you ask me. She's a deep state puppet and a neocon, and I can't stand her. So he got their support, and now, he's not backstabbing them, but he's saying, no, there isn't really a position for you in my administration. And I love to see it. So here's Nikki Haley's response from it. She says, I was proud to work with President Trump defending America at the United Nations. I wish him and all who serve great success in moving us forward to a stronger, safer America over the next 4 years. Okay. I can't stand Nikki Haley, but she didn't come out and attack him at all. So I think Trump coming into office now is commanding a whole new level of respect than when he came into office in 2016. He came into office in 2016, didn't have any experience whatsoever. He didn't know anybody in DC. He hadn't made any serious connections yet. This time, he's got them by the balls. He owns the GOP now. The Bushes are gone. The Cheneys are gone. All those neocon swamp creatures are gone. Trump owns the GOP now. And you love to see it. So I haven't in my lifetime, I'm not old, but I'm not young either. I'm 41. In my lifetime, I have never been this. Actually, I haven't been excited about an incoming president since Barack Obama. I was excited about Barack Obama coming in. Don't hold it against me, guys. I was really young. I didn't know any better. And I had the Hope shirt and everything. I didn't even vote for him because I was just, I was like a poser. I didn't know anything about politics, and I probably just was. I was probably just too lazy to vote. But I was hardcore, always talking about Obama, how great he's going to be, and I had the Hope shirt and all that crap. So I was an Obama supporter, and then I was a Bernie supporter, and I haven't been this excited about an incoming president. I'm more excited about Trump than I was about Obama coming in. Yeah, I know. Don't hate me. Don't hate me, Casey Martin. I apologize. But how old was I then? 2012. I was I wasn't. Yeah, that was 12 years ago. So yeah, I was like 27, 28 or something at the time. Yeah, Oh no, I'm sorry. Obama came in 2008, didn't he? Yeah, I'm stupid. Yeah, I was really young. I was like 24, 25. I remember when he came up for re-election, I was dating a girl at the time, and she was like, "Who are you going to vote for?" And I was like, "I don't know, probably Obama." She flipped out on me. She got so mad. It was funny. She's actually the person that sent me down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole. She's the one that introduced me to Alex Jones, and we used to watch that show, Conspiracy Theory, Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory. We used to watch that together. We'd like sit there and eat popcorn, all enthused. Yeah, she definitely changed my way of thinking. I still talk to her too, so it didn't end horribly. Well, it did end horribly, but we're friends now. Anyway, that's enough with the Trump stuff. I got a whole new block of stuff. Sorry, Casey Martin. I got to be honest. I was an Obama supporter. I got to be honest about it. So let's keep going here. What do I got next? So, okay, yeah, we'll just go to some of the meltdowns. Well, one of the meltdowns, and then just kind of like sporadic stories that I'll get into. So let's go over to Libs of TikTok here, because this is a clip from The View, and they're melting down over there on The View, and it's so funny to see. Such a good thing to see. So let's go to Libs of TikTok. And she says, The View just basically said the quiet part out loud. Kamala lost because Americans can now think for themselves, and we have free speech on X. I 100% agree with that. I put out a post saying, actually, I did a video about X being the X factor. We no longer need to listen to the fake news media for the narrative, and we can call out their lies in real time. So let's see what these squawking hens have to say over here on The View.
In Finland, kids in nursery school are learning to discern between fake news and real news. Yeah. They should be teaching that in this country. Yeah. Teach children tolerance, teach them to think critically.
Well, it would help if we could regulate social media, because one of the biggest offenders is DC and Congress have not been able to do one thing in regard to the rogue corporations of social media.
It's not going to get any better with Elon Musk now in the administration. I want to, and in Finland,
they hate it so much. They want to regulate social media. They hate it so much that we can say stuff to each other and share information with each other like I'm doing right now, even though there's only 14 of you guys watching, and I love you guys. Actually, I'm just kidding. There's probably more than 14 of you guys watching. Let's see. How many got over on Rumble? 18. There's 18 of you guys watching on Rumble. I don't know how many are watching over on YouTube. I can't see that. I would have to like actually go to YouTube. And I don't know how many are watching over on X. I can't, it doesn't give you a live count. It gives you like an overall count of how many people have like clicked on the video and watched. So I'm not sure, but it's probably, 20 or 30 of you guys watching. And I appreciate every last one of you. And if you'd hit that like button, it'd make me happy. All right, let's keep going. Let's go over to Mario Narwhals. So he says, it's a completely separate story. Study, mail-in fraud likely elected Biden in 2020, he says. A new report from the Heartland Institute claims widespread mail-in voter fraud in key swing states likely altered the outcome of the 2020 election, giving Joe Biden an advantage. Survey data from late 2023 shows over 1 in 5 mail-in voters admitted to some form of fraud. Based on this, analysts claim fraud levels in 6 swing states were high enough to change the Electoral College results. Very interesting. Bye-bye, YouTube channel. I'll probably get a strike for reading that. So there's still plenty of social media regulation going on. But so that's according to the Heartland Institute. That was reported by Glenn Beck over at The Blaze. So, they'll probably say that's fake news, but whatever. Okay, so this is a very interesting little picture that you have here. So check this out. So all these states don't require voter ID. Check this out. All these states that went blue for Kamala, here, I'll make it a little bigger so you guys can see it. There. So Washington, Oregon, and California, all the West Coast states, we don't require voter ID. Interesting, right? California, stuff I talk about all the time, universal mail-in ballots. Like that's the universal mail-in ballots thing is the biggest thing for me. It's just as big, if not bigger, than the voter ID thing, because we didn't have them before 2020. They brought them in during COVID because they didn't want people, coming in and infecting each other with their Wu flu. And then they stayed. They just never went away. That is insane to me. Everyone can mail in their ballots now. All the way up until 2020, even Democrats would say that the easiest way to commit fraud is with absentee ballots, which are something completely different. You had to apply for one. People in the military used them, or you'd have to have a really good excuse of, you're out of the country, so you're not going to be able to vote in person. It was the only way you could get a mail-in ballot. It was called an absentee ballot back then. And those are the easiest ways to commit fraud. And now everyone gets one, which is just bonkers to me. And then not requiring voter ID on top of that is insane. The California Department of Motor Vehicles, I talked about this last episode, they automatically register people to vote. And when you're applying for a driver's license in California, which illegal immigrants can get, you have to go and check a box that says, I am not a citizen. I am not a citizen. So you have to actively come out and say, I am here illegally on an actual state document. Who in their right mind is going to do that? So if they don't check that box, they're automatically going to register that person to vote, and they're going to get a ballot in the mail. It's madness. So all these blue states, Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois, Virginia, New York, all these all the little states, Minnesota, like all these states that went for Kamala they don't require voter ID. So I thought that was interesting. They all went for Kamala. How interesting. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have won without voter ID, that Kamala wouldn't have won in those states, but sure is a conspiracy theory, if you ask me. It's very interesting. Would they have won if they required ID? I don't know. Casey Martin, no voter ID map is total coincidence, conspiracy theory. I'm sensing a little sarcasm on that one. So, all right. That's enough with that one. Got a few more things to get to, and we'll wrap it up for the evening. So this is from the New York Post, and this is you guys heard about the Iran assassination plot against Donald Trump? You guys heard about that? And it's quite interesting because they want any excuse to go to war with Iran. Any excuse. And nobody's buying this shit. Like, a lot of people aren't buying this shit. And this is how you would get Trump supporters, conservatives, to cheer for going to war with Iran, invading Iran, as if they actually took out Trump, or, which I'm still worried about, them taking out Trump and blaming it on Iran. They're really trying to push this, but this is from the New York Post. Let me minimize this because you guys aren't going to read along with me here, but there we go. So from the New York Post, Iran's foreign ministry dismissed a report released by the Department of Justice on Friday, stating that it thwarted an Iranian plot to assassinate President-elect Donald Trump. A criminal complaint filed in a New York City federal court stated that an unnamed official in Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps told Farhad Shakiri, 51, of Iran, to focus on surveilling and ultimately assassinating former President Trump of the United States, Donald Trump. Former President of the United States, Donald Trump. Shakiri has informed law enforcement that he was tasked on October 7th, 2024, with providing a plan to kill President-elect Donald Trump, it added. On Saturday, a spokesperson Eshmel Bagai, I don't know how to pronounce that, categorically dismissed allegations that Iran was involved in an attempt to assassinate former and current U.S. officials, according to the foreign ministry. He said that repeating these types of claims is a malicious conspiracy orchestrated by the Zionist and anti-Iranian circles, aimed at further complicating issues between the U.S. and Iran. Bagai concluded by saying Iran remains committed to using all legitimate and legal means at domestic and international levels to restore the rights of the Iranian nation. Shakiri, who remains at large and is believed to be living in Iran, immigrated to the United States as a child and was deported in or about 2008 after serving 14 years in prison for a robbery conviction. Huh. Okay. According to the Department of Justice. Shakiri is also accused of tasking two New York men, 49-year-old Carlisle Rivera and 36-year-old Jonathan Ladolt, with surveilling and killing an American of Iranian origin, who is an outspoken critic of Iranian's regime, for $100,000. The person, who identified herself as journalist Masai Alanjad, I'm sorry, I'm butchering these names, lives in America and has also been targeted by the Iranian government, the DOJ reported. We will not stand for the Iranian regime's attempts to endanger the American people, and America's National Security Attorney General Merrick Garland said in a statement. Shakiri, Rivera, and Ladolt face charges of murder for hire, conspiracy to commit murder for hire, and money laundering conspiracy, which carry a maximum penalty of 10 to 20 years in prison. Prosecutors said Shakiri has also been charged with the conspiracy to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization, providing material support for a foreign terrorist organization, and conspiracy to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act and sanctions against the government of Iran, which each carry a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. Okay. So Iran's denying it. I mean, they would deny it even if it was true, though, right? So I don't know what to make of that, but it seems the U.S. warmongers, the Liz Cheney types, that the uniparty deep state military industrial complex machine would love to invade Iran, would love to start full scale war with Iran. So, if if they're leaking things to the Mockingbird media saying that Iran's trying to assassinate Trump and they want to get people on board to go to war with Iran, that'd be one way to do it, wouldn't it? So I smell bullshit, but you know, I'm not siding with Iran either. I don't know. There's they tried to link what was his name? The guy that shot Trump in the ear, what was his name? Cooks. They tried to associate him with being hired by Iran as well. So I don't know. Make of it what you will, you guys. Let's keep going here. I've been meaning to watch that movie, Casey Martin. Watch the movie Vice about Dick Cheney. Yeah, I know. I like the actor that played Bush as well in that movie. He's good. So this is out of the Dutch government. So this is from Sudden and Unexpected. I'll just pull up the article here. So this is from slaynews.com. Dutch government official admits COVID pandemic was a military operation. Ministry of Health obeys NATO. It's not that long of an article. I'll just read the whole thing. A top Dutch government official has admitted that that COVID was a military operation and revealed that their nation was taking orders from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, during the pandemic. Dutch Health Minister Floor Agema, I probably butchered that name too, has revealed that the military operation was led by NATO and the Netherlands National Coordinator of Security and Counterterrorism. The NCTV is a Dutch government agency that serves the country's national security. During a speech in the Dutch parliament, Agema acknowledged in parliament that the Dutch pandemic policy is taking place under the direction of the National Coordinator for Security and Counterterrorism, NCTV, and Defense. She noted that the government responded to the pandemic by complying with NATO obligations. In doing so, she confirmed that the pandemic policy was a coup d'etat by the NCTV. Prominent Dutch doctor Els van Veen says she finally understands what happened to her and other critical doctors during the corona crisis. It was a military operation. The Minister of Health obeys NATO and NCTV. Dr. Van Veen said in a post on X. On Thursday, October 24th, Floor Agema had a first. She was the very first health minister in parliamentary history to explain her actions by NATO obligations. And not once, but 6 times, a member of parliament, Pepin van Houwelingen, I can't pronounce that, did. In a 3-minute video in which Agema tells the chamber that the pandemic preparedness is related to a treaty obligations and that the intelligence service NCTV is in charge. It went viral on X. Von blah immediately promised to answer chamber questions. Agema made her remarks during the debate on resilience. Okay. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? So the Dutch government officials admit COVID pandemic was a military operation. Why? What did COVID bring about? I mean, if COVID didn't happen, would Trump have won re-election? I mean, it's an interesting question to ask. So, yeah, very interesting. All right, this is last thing I'll show really quick because this just popped up in my feed. It's kind of interesting. Stuff falling out of the sky. People are saying it was a. Well, I'll just play the video first. So this is, I mean, it's pretty crazy video, but people are saying this was Starlink breaking up as it was re-entering the atmosphere, but this is what people were seeing.
I got it.
What the fuck is that? Dude, what the fuck is that?
What is that?
What the fuck is that?
Yo!
I mean, it's clearly something re-entering the atmosphere. And I mean, that would make sense if it was a Starlink satellite re-entering the atmosphere, a bunch of different things falling to Earth. It's what it looks like to me.
Oh!
Wow, what the heck? What is it?
Lots of videos, the exact same thing.
You talking about that? What is that? It's right here, dude.
God, I don't know.
How cool is that?
It's not that cool. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think it was? Definitely stuff re-entering the atmosphere. So this is from Roz Alerts. He says, an update. According to reports, this was not a meteor, but possibly a Starlink satellite breaking up as it re-entered Earth's atmosphere, creating a spectacular display across parts of Oklahoma and Texas about an hour ago. The satellite Starlink-4682, launched on August 28, 2022, was likely responsible for tonight's display. There's a bunch of conspiracies around Elon's Starlink having something to do with overthrowing the election results. So there's a lot of blue and on people out there saying there's talks for recount. They're trying, and I mean, Alex Jones is coming out and he's saying that they are not going to that election officials or who accepts the electorates. Is it the Senate? So a lot of states aren't going to accept the election results and they're not going to certify the election results. This is what Alex Jones is saying, that they are still in the process of trying to not allow Trump into the White House. That's what he's saying. I don't know. That'll be talked about a lot more in the coming days, I'm sure. The Columbia disaster sort of looked like this. I was a little too young to remember that. I know a lot of people watched it live at school, which is probably a traumatic experience for kids. So yeah, a lot of stuff happening, you guys. We are living in exciting times for sure. The most interesting times, and what a time to be alive. I'm excited about the incoming Trump administration. I'm excited about him going to war with Gavin. And I'm excited about California seemingly turning the ship around out here. And I'm going to fight tooth and nail. I'm going to do everything that I can. I would like to run again for office, as futile as that might be. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But there's a lot of us out here in California that are done with the bullshit. And we're doing everything we can to raise awareness to the tyrannical government that California is and try to talk some sense into people that are willing to hear it, because a lot of people are just they got such Trump derangement syndrome that they just can't hear anything that you're saying. So we'll see how it goes out here, folks. But that is pretty much all I got for the night. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I always love hearing from you in the chat. Casey Martin, Bob Tiergarden. Let's see, Northside. Let's see, M. Schwartz over on X. Shauna Marie over on X. Wally World. Jackie Ritako. Sorry, I probably pronounced that wrong. Old Doe. Yep, Wally World, Raider Mom. Always nice to see you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I will be back next Sunday. I'll probably be back in the middle of the week. Actually, I got some interviews to conduct. There's been some conversations to have with some interesting people. I got a gentleman that was he's a former corrections officer, and he wants to talk to me about the Green Wall. You guys may have heard of. It was basically a gang of prison guards, California prison guards. So that'll be an interesting conversation. I got my scientist friend, Michael Hogan. He wants to come on and talk about offshore wind and CARB and a bunch of energy stuff going on in California. So we'll be having that conversation soon. But Those interviews are to be determined, so we'll find out. I will be back here tomorrow not tomorrow, on Sunday night for sure, hopefully sooner. And yep, thank you guys all for hanging out. Before we get out of here, you know how we do it. We got to read a joke from the greatest book ever written, The Truth About Chuck Norris. Let's see what we got. Wally, you're still here. Nice to see you. All right, cool. Let's see. Hold on. Anybody else? Just finished your run, Bob? Man, how far'd you go? That was a good one. Must have got at least 5-7 miles in, something like that. All right, guys. Chuck Norris joke in the evening. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. I will see you next Sunday, possibly sooner. When the Incredible Hulk gets angry, he turns into Chuck Norris. And on that note, stay CaliBased, folks.